Just what does it mean to come back here and be able to play or to sass an opponent tonight?
Yeah, AZ was good to me, but I'm way happier where I'm at now. It was good to see people. It was fun to play in front of some fans. But for me, I'm way happier in Indiana.
The Indiana Fever's road trip couldn't have ended any woes. A crushing 95-60 blowout to Phoenix, 2 more brutal injuries, and Dana Borner throwing shade in the post-game presser. But Sophie Cunningham made sure she got the final word. In this video, we break down the full Phoenix meltdown, Sophie's gutsy attempt to drag her team to victory, and, most importantly, her explosive podcast reveal where she finally exposed the truth about how Dana Borner really walked out on the Fever. What Sophie said about professional courtesy and saying goodbye will leave you stunned. If you're riding with Sophie, drop a spicy Sophie in the comments. Let's get into it.
That had to have been one of, if not the most embarrassing loss of the season for the Indiana Fever so far. We lost to the Atlanta Dream earlier in the season, 77-58. We lost to the Valkyrie earlier in the season, 80-61. And tonight, against the Phoenix Mercury, we lose 95-60.
You could tell something was off the moment the Fever stepped on the court. They couldn't have hit water if they'd fallen out of a boat in that first quarter. Shots clanged off the rim, passes landed in Phoenix's hands, and the Mercury were running away with the game before most fans had even finished their popcorn. This wasn't a slow start. It was a full-on offensive implosion playing out in real time. The stats paint the ugly picture every Fever fan wishes they could unsee. Just 34.3% shooting from the field, an abysmal 7-4-30 from deep, and a staggering 22 turnovers that gift-wrap Phoenix 42 points. When you're handing the other team more points off turnovers and you're scoring from 3, you're not just in trouble, you're begging for a blowout.
Does this team practice? What I saw tonight looked like what I saw a month ago. Looked what I saw 3 weeks ago. Absolutely no offensive game plan. I thought this motion offense is when it's nobody's night in and night out. Everybody's allowed to have a night. If Kelsey Mitchell doesn't play well, it needs miraculous efforts from the rest of the team to pick this up. Sophie Cunningham played great tonight. Kelsey Mitchell had a bad game. Bad game. Where's everybody else?
The real gut punch came when Sydney Coulson crumpled to the floor with a non-contact knee injury that instantly silenced the arena. Moments later, Ari McDonald was hobbling around with a foot issue, and just like that, the Fever's already thin rotation was gasping for air. Watching 2 key players go down in the middle of the blowout wasn't just bad luck. It was like getting kicked while you were already flat on the mat.
Steph, obviously, Sid had that injury, and Ari left, I think, in the fourth quarter.
Yes.
What's the status of?
Well, it's Sid's left knee, Ari's right foot, and we'll get some more evaluation when we get home tomorrow and see where we are.
Phoenix dominated from start to finish, out-rebounding Indiana 44-32 and making the Fever look utterly lost on both ends of the floor. Every possession felt like the Mercury were playing chess while Indiana was still fumbling with checkers. Relentless defensive pressure from Phoenix turned the game into chaos, and the Fever never found their way back.
Sophie Cunningham making her return to Phoenix, and it seems as if nobody on our team other than Sophie Cunningham felt any type of emotional connection to this game. Tawana Bonner just got done doing your team absolutely dirty. You guys escape with a victory when they come to Indiana, and you wipe your hands of it like it's all over and finished with. No, it goes both ways. You don't think we want to beat her on her home court? You don't think we want to get a W for Sophie Cunningham, making her return to the team that she spent her whole entire career with up until this point?
Sophie Cunningham was a lone bright spot for the Fever, pouring in 18 points on efficient shooting while her teammates searched in vain for any offensive rhythm. She fought tooth and nail to keep the score from spiraling into an even bigger embarrassment, but one player can't hold off an entire team by herself.
This game meant just as much to Sophie Cunningham as it did to the Indiana Fever when Tawana Bonner made her return. The only difference is nobody on the Indiana Fever had Sophie Cunningham's back this time around. Sophie Cunningham was the only player trying hard. The only player giving effort, play in and play out. The only player getting into it with Alyssa Thomas, getting into it with DeWanna Bonner, getting into it with Kalia Copper, while everybody else just mailed it in. This game was embarrassing, folks.
The atmosphere in the arena was crushing for anyone in Fever colors. Frustration was written all over the faces in the crowd as the scoreboard kept tilting further against them. What made it worse was watching the Mercury celebrate every bucket and defensive stop, like it was Game 7 of the finals. This wasn't a case of unlucky rim outs. It was a full-scale system collapse that exposed just how fragile Indiana's depth becomes when injuries start piling up. But the real fireworks came after the final buzzer. Dana Borna, fresh off torching her former team for 23 points, couldn't resist twisting the knife. In her post-game presser, she talked about finding her edge and how emotionally charged the return felt, like she had just conquered Mount Everest. It was a kind of victory lap that made it clear why the Fever might actually be better off without her.
You see that? DeWanna Bonner hit her first three-point shot in about 6 months and runs down the floor after losing her starting spot to Lexi Hull. Runs down the floor and calls Lexi Hull a bomb to her face. DeWanna Bonner is out here calling Lexi Hull a bomb to her face.
But the real story of those 40 minutes went beyond the scoreboard. Borna spent the night in constant run-ins with Lexi Hull, glaring her down after made shots and throwing shade with every glance. Whenever she crossed paths with Sophie Cunningham, the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. This wasn't just basketball, it was a calculated performance meant to humiliate her former teammates, and she played the role to perfection.
You know, it was, yeah, I don't know, emotions are kind of high. Honestly, it's just been a journey to get back to just being happy playing basketball again. Yeah, I'm just, the joy, trying to find that for a minute. Basketball was kind of like off the radar for me a little bit. I didn't know if I loved it anymore. Like, I had a long conversation with Alyssa. So just to feel that again, feel that energy, feel this from that building was just amazing. And I feel like it was a game that I needed to, remind me, like, I love this.
Coach Nate Tibbetts couldn't stop gushing over Borna's intensity afterward, crediting her veteran edge for fueling Phoenix's dominance. From the way he told it, you'd think she'd been storing up months of pent-up energy just for this night. For the Mercury, this wasn't just another game. It was payback in sneakers. And Borna was a ringleader, orchestrating every smake, stare, and trash-talking moment. Each bucket came with a dagger look, each defensive stand with a verbal jab at the Fever bench, turning the whole night into a personal vendetta disguised as basketball.
Phoenix doing a nice job on the boards. We talked about that, leading by 10. Wow. 7-17.
You look at all the stats that you love as Cunningham
Barry's staying hot. Buries another triple. It's a tough call, and here's going to see the shot by the three-pointer against Copper.
Sably, tough shot. Wasn't square, and here comes Indiana. Cunningham, another three. Oh my goodness, Sophie Cunningham!
Fever fans have rallied behind this current roster because they stand for something Borna never did in Indianapolis: true loyalty to the team's future. This group isn't looking for the quickest exit when challenge is hit. They're laying the groundwork for something lasting. Even without Caitlin Clark on the floor, they held on to the identity and values that make the Fever special: passion, unity, and representing the city with pride every single night. The Phoenix blowout stung, but it also highlighted the difference between players who quit and players who fight. With Clark's return right around the corner, this rough stretch could be the spark for an unexpected 2025 championship push. Sophie Cunningham's blunt truth about Borna's unprofessional exit made it clear: sometimes losing the wrong player is the best when a team can get. Through injuries, losses, and off-court drama, the Fever's core has stayed locked in, while their former teammate celebrates beating a shorthand squad. That difference in character is what will matter most when the stakes are highest. If you're with Sophie, drop a "Spicy Sophie" in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications.